I will just start and welcome everyone. Welcome members to the first of these peer learning sessions that we've been hoping to introduce for a while. You all know me, my name's Shelley, and I'm currently the coordinator of this amazing network. So it's lovely to see so many of you on the screen. Yeah, this is the first one, and we're kind of super excited to get these on the road. We'll be running these hopefully every month on the run up to the Kruger in-person symposium in August. I'm now going to hand over to Fred, who's just going to introduce that and hope that that electrician doesn't arrive at this exact moment. Over to you, Fred.
It's always great when you're doing a Zoom presentation, looking out the window to see if someone's coming to your front door at an unknown time. So I just hold Shelley and our team. If I disappear, that's why. Hi, Fred Nelson, CEO of Maliasili. Good to see many of you who I know and some folks who I don't. Thank you for coming. We have been involved in organizing this network and supporting its development from the beginning. And I think initially when this network around conservation leadership approaches was created, this kind of peer learning, and in the meetings that we've had back in 2019 and then last year, this goal around peer learning and looking at what we're all doing in leadership development has been a big focus of the conversation. And it's going to be a big focus of the planned meeting in Kruger in South Africa in August, which I know some of you are planning to come to. And so we wanted to just kind of prepare for that, or kind of get the ball rolling towards that, not wait till we're, have gone to the time and expense of landing in South Africa, but actually kind of dig a bit more into the peer learning process and experiment a little bit with sharing some of the work that we're doing within the group, starting with this and hopefully running kind of a session like this every month leading up to August, to kind of flex those peer learning muscles and just, get everyone thinking about different approaches that are being used and done. So, yeah, and in doing that, we volunteered as Maliasili and with our close colleagues at Well Grounded to talk about this Canopy Leadership Program that we've been running in the Congo Basin. And to introduce that, I will hand it over to Kitty to kick us off. So looking forward to it. And please share, with myself or Shelley, any feedback or reflections after the call.
Thanks, Fred, and thanks, Shelley, for organizing and kicking us off with the peer learning sessions. It's really exciting to be moving into this phase of the network since forming in the summer. And lovely to see everyone, some faces that I haven't met yet, so that welcome, and it's nice to connect. I think so. We're going to present the program. We've got Emily from Maliasili on the call and Mireille, although she's having trouble with her camera, unfortunately. And they're the leads of this, the co-leads of this program. So they're going to present. I'm just teeing us up. We've got about half an hour of presentation, but we'll pause for questions a couple of times. So if you want to ask any questions that come to you while they're presenting, just type them in the chat and I'll try and keep an eye out. And then we'll have some time for more general Q&A discussion at the end. So with all that in mind, I'll ask Emily to tee up the slides so we can kick off. I've lost sight of Emily now. There she is. Cool. So there's a bit of a who's in control of the slides question earlier. So I think we figured it out. So just before I hand over to Emily for the presentation, just a quick note on who we all are. Well Grounded has been supporting organizations in the Congo Basin region for about 12 years now, with a focus on organizational development, but we see leadership as a really key component of that, and we've been running a range of leadership programs. If you go on to the next slide, Emily. And so that kind of brings us to how we got to know Maliasili over the years. So we have very similar approaches, and that takes us to sort of deciding to work together on this program. We as Well Grounded run leadership programs supporting women leaders and Indigenous leaders. And I guess the slides are coming in different order, but I guess I'll do the Well Grounded side and then I'll hand to Fred for the Maliasili side. If you just want, can you just click through all of them, Emily? Sorry, I've messed up your lovely animation. So we've Well Grounded have been running leadership programs in the Congo Basin region for a number of years, and we've been connecting with Maliasili over the years, who also run their leadership programs. And I'll hand to Fred for that side of it.
Well, yeah, yeah, we've been running cohort-based leadership programs, again, as many of you know, since about 2016. We've done them in Madagascar now, and marine programs, and have our African Conservation Leadership Network. And Well Grounded, as Kitty said, has been one of our closest peers, really, in terms of doing leadership development, organizational development with local civil society groups in Africa. And we've known Well Grounded for about 10 years, I think. We were both founded around the similar time, and with similar kind of core animating goals of strengthening great local organizations, and with leadership programs being a really key component of that, a growing component of that for us. And this has been really exciting to actually be doing this together and actually jointly design and deliver a program, which is also, I think, a really, it's a deep level of collaboration, right? When we think about this group and this network in terms of collaborating and sharing, I mean, this is a really deep form of collaboration to actually design and execute a cohort-based leadership program together. And so that's part of what we'll be talking about. But ultimately, we're hoping to create something better than either of us could do alone, and draw on each other's methods and tools, and hopefully lay the basis for supporting more great local organizations in Africa.
Thanks, Fred. So I'll hand to Emily to actually present the program.
Thanks, Kitty. I think you or Fred were going to speak to this slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Emily gave us very clear instructions, and I've lost track of them. So the program came about. This is really why Well Grounded is here. We have the second largest rainforest in the world in the Congo Basin, a massive priority for global climate and local livelihoods, and a real growing and interesting dynamic around community forestry. So that was kind of the context behind Well Grounded's work, and a recognition that leadership is going to be a key component to that. The idea here was to really set up a dedicated program identifying the most promising leaders in community forestry across 4 countries, and run a leadership program that combines our learning on leadership from both organizations and transformative long-term leadership program of the kind we're all quite interested in this network. And Emily and Mireille will describe a little bit more around the philosophy that we've been following behind it, and bringing in African leadership concepts into the program, which is kind of a unique selling point of this program. And with that, I'll hand over.
Great. Thanks so much, Kitty. So yeah, I'm going to now kind of take you through a deeper dive on the Canopy program, which, as Fred and Kitty mentioned, myself and Mireille, who will also be presenting some of the slides and speaking to the program, we've been working together over the past year and a half to co-design and co-deliver the program. So I'm going to start with some high-level stuff, and then we'll get more specific. But so the sort of long-term vision for this program is to support and develop a community of strong civil society leaders who are working directly with local communities and Indigenous peoples to protect and sustainably manage the forests in the Congo Basin. So working directly on community forestry initiatives. And the vision is for these leaders to have a very high level of self-awareness, a clear vision of what they hope to achieve, a strong set of core values that are driving them towards that vision, and who have, very high levels of emotional intelligence, relationship management skills, and competencies around collaboration. The goal of the program, more specifically, is to strengthen the leadership capacities and competencies of a group of senior CSO leaders who are working on community forestry in 4 countries across the Congo Basin, but also to facilitate peer learning and peer connections, so that there's opportunities for mutual support and potentially, hopefully, collaboration in the future as well. So the approach of the program, which also frames the design of the program, is around 3 levels of leadership. And both Maliasili and Well Grounded in the past have always designed their programs in this way. And it's really it's based on the belief that leadership is developed from the inside out. And it's sort of something that has to start with inner work, and it spirals outwards into people's way of thinking about and engaging with the people and the world around them. So the first level of leadership, and this is the first course of the program. So the Canopy program is made up of 3 courses. The first course is about leading self. And this is really supporting people to have a strong foundation of self-awareness, knowing who they are, what they believe in, what they stand for, and also being aware of their strengths, their weaknesses, and being very conscious about how they show up in the world, what kind of leadership approach they take, and how they want to bring about change. And in the image here, this is represented by the tree's roots, right? This sort of self-awareness, deepening self-awareness. But it's also about being able to articulate and share values, ideas, talents, assets, and that's sort of represented by the trunk and the branches and the leaves on the tree. The second level of leadership, and this is the second course in the program, is about leading teams and organizations. And this is really about supporting leaders to inspire and support other people towards their vision, and having the skills to really effectively build and manage and support teams to bring about bigger change. So in the image here, you see, the belief is that by working with other people effectively and collaboratively, people are going to know themselves better, the roots get deeper, but also start contributing to something bigger than themselves. And you can see the canopy starting to develop in the image. The third level, which is the third course of the program, is called Leading Collaboration. And this is really about systems leadership. And it's getting people to think about the bigger system they operate in and how they can work across boundaries with different actors across different sectors to really be part of a stronger movement for change. And again, in the image, you can see by being in relationship with this bigger group of people contributing to something larger, people continue to learn more about themselves, deepen their roots, but also you can see the canopy is expanding, it's more rich, it's diverse, and synergistic, and that's what they're contributing to the world. So that's kind of the whole underlying design of the program. The cohort of the Canopy program, that's a picture that was taken on the beach at our first workshop retreat. But it's made up of 19 senior leaders. So these are the top, like the CEOs, coordinators, and the sort of second person in command in the organization. So 19 leaders from 10 organizations. So there's 2 people from each organization, except for 1 person who had to drop out due to medical issues. These are all organizations that are working on community forestry at different levels and sort of through different entry points. So some are working very much on legal reform, others are very much grassroots organizations, some are more rights focused, some are very conservation focused. So it's a whole range, but their common thread is that they're all working on community forestry. The cohort is sort of represents a diversity in terms of gender, social backgrounds, and age. So I think the youngest person in the cohort is a young woman from Gabon who's in her early 20s, and the eldest is from Eastern DRC, a man who's in his 70s. So it's a really big range of ages and life experience. And these are all leaders and organizations that we believe have a very high potential to achieve greater influence and greater impact through what they gain from this program. So through improving their leadership capabilities and through having more opportunities for collaboration and learning with their peers. So a little bit about the journey. I won't go into too much detail, but this is sort of where we've been, where we're at, and where we're headed. So when this whole idea came about between Maliasili and Well Grounded wanting to do something together, I mean, Maliasil and Well Grounded have collaborated for a number of years on research, but there was this decision a few years ago to deliver something together, design and deliver something. So that's prompted what we called the scoping phase, which was happening around over 8 months in 2022, and that involved interviewing close to 50 leaders of different civil society organizations across the Congo Basin to learn more about who they are, what they're doing, and also to see if there was interest in this type of program. That then led into a recruitment phase, which happened between March and May last year, which was quite intensive and involved a sort of assessment and application and assessment at both an organizational level and an individual level. And it led to the selection of the cohort in mid-May of last year. That flowed into an engagement phase, which happened in July and August last year. And that was really introducing people for the first time. We had a launch call, an online launch call where everybody met each other. We supported people to write up their bios, and we published a document with all their biographies and photos. We had people sign organizational level MOUs and individual commitment contracts to the program. And there was 2 digital training sessions to give people the skills they needed to engage in the online component of the program. And then we kicked off the implementation phase in September of last year. And the first course ran from September to December last year on leading self. And that involved a range of different methods. There were online courses, there were online that people completed individually on their own time. They were launched every week over a period of about 8 weeks. There were online learning sessions that brought everybody together to debrief what they were gaining from the online modules. There was a webinar on community forestry where people were able to talk about their actual work on the ground. And then there was a 7-day in-person workshop in Cameroon at the end of the course, which was amazing. And that was the first time everybody came together in person. And that was really about grounding the content and the online modules in people's realities and experience, and really helping them. It was much more focused on the sort of like hands, practical like tools. How do they actually start putting this stuff into practice? Now we find ourselves in course 2, leading teams and organizations. It kicked off in February. Very similar online modules, online learning sessions, and there'll be a workshop at the end of April. Oh, I sort of also mentioned actually in course 1, people also did an online personality assessment and had a debrief session with a coach about that. And that's going to be a thread all the way through the program. And that was really to deepen people's like self-awareness. And also people have access to a professional coach. So they were paired up with coaches in October, and they've started monthly coaching sessions in January. And they have 1 coaching session a month until the end of the year. And we have a group of 7 professional coaches who are all over the world who are providing that support to people. So now course 2, we've got the online modules, the online learning sessions, the coaching, and we're preparing for our next workshop at the end of April, which will be in Cameroon again. Course 3 will run from June to September, same sort of methodology approach, with the final workshop at the end of September. And then there'll be a celebration and sort of wrap up phase in October. And that's when the program will officially close. So yeah, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to hand over to Mireille. That's sort of the nuts and bolts of how the program is designed, the sort of thinking behind these 3 levels of leadership. And Mireille is now going to talk more about the philosophy that's underpinned the design and the content. I don't know if Kitty, we were going to maybe take a quick pause if there's any questions.
Yes, but it's a good moment if anyone wants to raise a hand right now, or we can save them to the end. Oh, there's one in the chat. Does the coaching run through to the end of the program?
Yeah, it does. So it's 12, every participant has 12 coaching sessions that are paid for through the program, and they started in January and they run until December. So they actually run until after the program officially ends. But I mean, I can't go too much into detail, but I think already those coaching spaces are proving to be very, very valuable for people. So we decided to extend them for an extra 2 months and offer people that. We also have learning spaces and sessions with the group of 7 coaches 4 times during the program. We just had our first one a few weeks ago, where we get to hear from them about sort of any common themes that are coming up in their coaching sessions, like all anonymous, obviously, but like big themes that are coming out, feedback they have, questions, challenges, etc. It's almost like a peer learning space for the coaches, and that's also been very valuable so far.
I can see Molly has a hand up for a question. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Real quick, one of your first slides, you had three different levels, I guess, of leaders. You had senior, rising, and future. And I was just wondering what the criteria was that kind of distinguished them, and was it in alignment with the program approach of leading self, leading teams and organizations? Just wondering what the distinction is of how those parameters of what makes a senior leader, a rising leader, and a future leader.
I can speak to that, and then Fred, or do you want to jump in, Fred?
Go for it, Emily.
Great, thanks for the question. So this is sort of the target groups of Maliasili's programs. So historically, the programs have mostly been targeted to senior leaders in organizations. So sort of the top person and their second, the coder, what am I thinking of? They all have different names, but the top 2 people in the organization. That's generally been the target group. And then a couple of years ago, there were increasing requests from organizations whose leaders had gone through the program for a program, like an opportunity for people who are sort of rising up in the ranks of their organization and taking on more management and leadership roles to be able to go through the program. And so last year, Maliasili piloted what we call a Rising Leaders Program, which targets mid-level sort of management generally. And in some cases, they're from the organizations where the senior leaders have gone through the program, and in some cases, it's their first time experiencing it. And the Future Leaders Program is kind of a whole different thing, but it's trying to engage youth it's like an internship type program. So young people who are interested in coming into the sector and linking them up with organizations who are doing community-based conservation, community-based resource management for a sort of work experience and trying to get them excited about coming into the sector. But there's not a link between that and the 3 levels of leadership.
Okay.
But just to be clear on the Canopy program, which has been structured around senior leaders, so that those 3 levels are Maliasili's other cohort-based leadership programs, whereas Canopy is aiming at that senior level category.
Great, thank you for that.
And there's another question in the chat from Chloe around the platform for peer-to-peer interaction through remote sessions.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that, unless Mireille, do you want to jump in at all, Mireille, or should I answer this one and then hand over to you?
You can answer and then hand over.
Okay. Yeah, so the online modules are published on a platform called Moodle, and they are to be done by individuals kind of on their own time. They're published every Monday, but each of the modules has different discussion forums as part of them. So there'll be some content, and then we'll ask a question, and there'll be a discussion forum around that question, and people engage with each other in those forums. So they'll, comment on each other's responses. They'll sometimes exchange. So there's that sort of space for online peer engagement. But then these learning sessions I was mentioning that happen to debrief kind of the content on the online modules, those are also online spaces for peer learning as well. I don't know if that answers the question. That was, but yes, there are different ways that people are exchanging between them online.
Great.
Mireille,
I think, yeah, Mireille, we've got a thumbs up from Chloe, so I think we're good. Over to you, Mireille. And yeah, keep the questions coming in the chat during the presentation if there's anything else coming up.
Yeah, well, thank you. So as Emily and Kitty mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, like this program, one selling point of it, or what make it unique, is the fact that we have intentionally, we wanted to ground it in African like knowledge, philosophy, and experience. So what inspires us was the Ubuntu. And I don't know how many of you know about Ubuntu, but it's mean I am because we are. It's really a deep philosophy, and it offers possibility to think and practice leadership grounded in this African philosophy. So next, Emily. So maybe I will just talk quickly about the origin. As Ubuntu is about, it comes from the Bantu language, and as you can see on this map, it covers so many countries, like from Central Africa to West and South Africa. It has been populated by Desmond Tutu and Mandela, Nobel Prize. But really, it's mean humanity and humility, both of them. It means that, and we can see it as a way of being in the world, and the way of seeing the world. And yeah, at the core of it, we have like really humanity being at the center, and interdependence. I will come back to it later on. So actually, the Ubuntu philosophy, it is kind of a humanist proposal that African bring to the world, and that can help to tackle some of the globalization crisis and issues, because it's, as I say, like that humanity is at the center. And this is kind of, how can I say, universal, because it can be applied wherever, like in the world, wherever people. And I believe there is so many of different philosophy around the world, maybe, which are similar, or at least, which put like humanity at the center. So that's about the origin. And to go deeper a little bit about that, the Ubuntu philosophy recognizes like really this interdependence of which exists around individual and the collective. So I am because we are. So I am nothing if there is nobody else around me. And we have seen that, like, with our experience with leadership and many theories about leadership, it seems like to be like really very unique, or how can I say, very specific in how leaders see themselves. And this has inspired also about how we bring like these leadership discussions, content, framework to them. So the individual is really embedded in the society, is socially embedded, and has like the moral duty and responsibility to contribute to the collective. So that is at the core, really, collaboration, collective, and it's about like really realization of the whole collective. But one thing which is also really important to know about the Ubuntu is the importance it's put on history, the history of a community, of a person. Where do I come from and where do I go? If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you go. And it's attached really good importance on about connecting to the community, but for those who exist and those who are not alive at all. So like our ancestors, like what do we learn from them? What is our history tell about? Like what do they tell us about our history and about that? So the context of the community and where it comes from is very important. And we have also put that at the center of the program, about people getting to know them better, where they come from, like their culture, their values, from where they come from. So that is kind of something. And actually, like, maybe to close this, like, one of the things is the fact that the self-realization is really developing. It's taking the meaning in interpersonal relationships, and this is where it's come and meet some of other approaches we have been using, both Maliasil and Well Grounded, in the past. I think about emotional intelligence, because it's all about interpersonal relationship. So by the way, so that connection about African philosophy and Western like theory and tools has come together and provides some kind of the strength of this program. Next slide. So as a conclusion, like really this Ubuntu, it encourages like to really move away from the me and the us and them mentality and focus more on the we. So it's the collective again, which is at the center, and this is for the well-being of the group, and it's called for mutual support from each other. So that is kind of what has driven the program and how we have designed it and the content we have been providing and the spirit we have put in. I can't remember, Emily. Next one, is it you and me? Yeah, last one from my side. So then what is the connection between Ubuntu and the leadership? So when we think about Ubuntu, the meaning of leadership take another sense, which is about serving others. It's being at the service to others. It is not anything else. It's not about me. It is about how do I support others to be who they are and to play their role in supporting the collective. So it is a way of being, perceiving, and acting in the world. So again, for us, the program, it's really focused about the how I am and how I can be in the world and how I'm interacting with others and how I am acting for the collective. So therefore it's required intentional action to shape a better world. You need to have intention. Why am I doing what I'm doing? So, and this is connected to really when we are working with leader on leading self, it is like, why do you even exist in the world? What are you trying to do? What can you contribute to? And what is your intention, and how then you share that in the world around you? So yeah, so that's what has been guiding us, and I will leave Emily a little bit to share about them practically. How did we use this to develop the program and the content and the course? So over to you, Emily.
Thanks so much, Mireille. So yeah, as Mireille said, we have been really inspired by this philosophy and what it kind of offers to leadership. And for this program, we've come up with what we call the Ubuntu leadership model. And this is a model that we're piloting through the Canopy program. And it sort of underpins the whole methodology of the program. So the model, it has these 6 elements that represent, the acronym of Ubuntu. And the idea is that each element builds on the previous one. And there's obviously like a whole kind of explanation of what's behind each one, which we don't have time to go into. But just very quickly, the first element is around understanding self and others. So this really speaks to what Mireille was saying around people really thinking about their history, their culture, their context, their identity, who they are, how they want to be in the world. B is the next element, which is about being respectful, authentic, and curious. And this is really about emotional intelligence and the related competencies around emotional intelligence. Uptake responsibility for people and nature. That element is really about systems and seeing yourself as a system, your organization as a system, and the world that you work in as a system, and having that systems thinking lens to how you see things, how you see the world. The next element is navigate. This element, navigate your power and influence. This is all about supporting people to be conscious of how power operates in all relationships, what kind of power and influence they have as leaders, how they want to use it, and also how they navigate it in the different situations and relationships that they have through their work. The next element is trust. This looks at vulnerability, courage, and also just really practically, how do you build trust with people? And yeah, I won't say more about that. And then the final element is uplift others to thrive. And this is really the sort of ultimate goal of the program, is like giving people the mindset and the skill set to be supporting others to develop their leadership, others to sort of step into their power and take action and contribute to this common vision. So that's the model in brief. Every course is framed around the model. So every course has 6 online modules, and there's 1 module for each element of the Ubuntu framework. And the live weeks, the workshops are also generally designed around this model as well. So the people start the beginning of the week by kind of looking backwards at who they are and where they've come from, or what their organization is and where it's come from. And then at the end of the week, they're really looking forwards, like their vision for who they want to be, what they want to do in the world, etc. So just to give a quick example of what this actually looks like in practice, I'm going to quickly present, because I guess the other thing that this framework has allowed us to do is integrate existing leadership content from Well Grounded's leadership curriculum and Maliasili's leadership curriculum, and also bring in some new things. But the whole point of this collaboration was to learn from each other and to share content, to share methods, and to come up with something that sort of brings the strongest elements of both curricula together. And so that this framework's helped us to do that. So just for example, this whole element of understand, like I said, this is about people understanding themselves and being able to relate and find common ground with others. And it's about being aware of history, culture, values, and biases. So for example, in course 1 on leading self, people did an exercise called the Tree of Life that was looking at, their values, their vision, their relationships, etc. They were introduced to this idea, this framework called the Intimate Strategic Balance, which is around how to have effective relationships with people. And in the workshop retreat, we really looked at sort of people's ancestral roots, their personal origin stories, what they'd learned from their ancestors, what they wanted to bring with them, what they want to leave behind, and that led into a whole thing about personal values. If we now look at this element of the model in the second course, the framing of the second course, now we're shifting to leading teams and organizations. So they did an exercise in the online module called Turning Points, where they were looking at like the significant events in their life that led them to found or join the organization they're working for. There's some theory around OD, like life cycle of organizations, different phases. And then there's a lot of stuff around organizational culture and values that we're going to be digging into in the next workshop. So that just gives you a sense of like how we're bringing content in around these elements of the Ubuntu model. I think that was it for the slides, and we're going to see if there's any questions before we show a short video about the program.
Yeah, there is one, Emily. What are the eligibility criteria for the application, and what does the recruitment mechanism look like? Would you love to talk about it?
Go for it.
Should I go? Yeah?
Yeah, go.
Okay. So actually the main criteria was actually, as Emily said, like it was selecting people and organizations. So it was really looking at if they are working in community forestry. That was kind of the key entry points. And then beyond that, there was so many other, like their position, are they really leading the organization? What is the role they are playing in the organization? Because it was targeting the senior leader, and it was really to see like how these people can shape the culture of their organization and help them to grow. Do they have like really power to really influence what is happening? And then the main one was really the willingness to take on a journey of transformation and to learn from others and to share with others. I think that is, and to commit to be there and really sharing. So I can say like broadly it was that. So the recruitment, as we said, it was 2 steps. It was first, like they apply, because it's 2 people from one organization, so they apply together for the organization. So they have to pitch the organization, what the organization is doing, what difference they are making in the world, impact they are having, and those kind of things, and what are the challenges they are facing. They believe like this program can help them to overcome that. So that was one part. And then there was like individual application about then why me? Why do I want to apply to this program, and what am I expecting? What can I bring to the program, and those sort of things. So that was kind of the two ways. So it was like selection. First, there was a pre-selection, because I can't remember if there were about 34 people who applied, Emily. I can't remember, but we end up with 20. Something like that. So that was first pre-selection, and then those who were pre-selected has the chance to have like one-to-one interview with one of us, and to really, again, get to know them better, get to understand why they are joining the program. So yeah, so I think that, and of course there was that scoping phase, which started like time ago, which has come across like talking to about 50 people. So that has allowed us to have a kind of a pool of people to whom we have addressed like the call for application. So that was also a bit of selection, I can say. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think it's a very interesting model, just to comment quickly, because it's not only that they have to pitch for themselves, but they have to pitch for the organization as well. That kind of links it to the commitment towards their organization and the work that they do and the collaborative aspect of the whole thing. So thank you so much. It's a very interesting program to learn from.
Thanks so much. And yeah, just one other little thing to add, which is that the initial applications in the first phase were through videos. There was a couple of questions they answered through an online form, but the main application was a video application. Okay, I think we have a short video to share with you all before we have like a couple of final points about the learning and what the next steps might be. So let me just start up the video. I'm going to start it and then pause and just make sure the sound is working. Yeah? Okay, perfect.
Alors, Émilie, pourquoi ce programme de leadership dans le bassin du Congo? Merci Mireille. En fait, nous avons mis en place ce programme de leadership dans le bassin du Congo parce que dans le bassin du Congo, nous avons une grande forêt. En fait, on appelle ça le poumon de l'Afrique et on pouvait même appeler ça le poumon du monde. C'est une grande forêt qui est très importante au niveau local jusqu'au niveau international. Et nous croyons, comme Maliasili and Well Grounded, qu'en fait, pour gérer ces forêts dans une manière durable et équitable, ça nécessite l'implication et les connaissances des communautés locales. Et en fait, que les solutions qui vont être les plus durables viennent du niveau local. Alors, c'est pour déjà construire sur le travail et les résultats qu'ils ont déjà pour les amener à un autre niveau d'efficacité et d'impact.
Le point fort de mon expérience au cours de cet atelier, c'est justement cette découverte de soi, cette prise de conscience de soi, le fait que nous avons besoin d'aller puiser en nous, d'être bien nous-mêmes avant de prendre soin de nous et des autres et même de notre environnement.
Ce n'est pas une formation classique, c'est plus des ateliers qui concourent à induire le changement en nous. Nous sommes passés de chef à leader.
I think my strong experience that I've had during this training, it's my own self-leadership and knowing that I have the capacities and potential to be a true leader.
Dans la foresterie communautaire, il y a aussi toute une série de variétés de personnalités qu'on va rencontrer. Il y a les pouvoirs coutumiers, il y a les pouvoirs administratifs, il y a les leaders locaux, il y a les vassaux, les propriétaires terriens. Donc, il y a toute une diversité de personnalités qu'on va rencontrer dans ce domaine-là. C'est ainsi qu'il faut être vraiment outillé en méthodologie, en approche pour savoir comment s'adapter à toute cette diversité autour de la thématique foresterie communautaire.
Tout au long de cette expérience, on a beaucoup communiqué, on a beaucoup partagé. On a partagé des expériences qui étaient parfois communes et ça nous a permis de tisser des liens et d'enlever les préjugés qu'on avait les uns envers les autres. Lorsque l'on n'est pas bien en soi, on ne peut pas produire de l'efficacité, on ne peut pas mettre les autres aussi à l'aise. Le programme de leadership Canopy nous a donné comme des clés de solutions pour l'avenir. Donc, nous avons déjà certains éléments qui nous permettront de nous améliorer en tant que leader dans notre domaine.
Nous sommes en fait des acteurs qui interviennent dans la foresterie, dans la gouvernance forestière et autres. Et donc, dans ce travail, nous avons aussi tendance à être en contact avec les communautés. Et donc, ce leadership nous aide à mieux améliorer notre façon de faire avec les communautés, à notre façon de travailler avec les communautés. Et ça permet aussi de redonner confiance aux communautés dans ce que nous sommes en train de faire ensemble avec eux.
Ça fait déjà depuis 2014 que Maliasil and Well Grounded propose ces programmes de leadership aux leaders de la société civile qui travaillent sur les questions de la conservation et de la gouvernance forestière. Mais cette fois, vraiment, on a voulu faire ce programme et vraiment le centrer sur la culture locale, sur les savoirs africains, et pour construire en fait sur ce que les gens ils savent déjà sur comment leur société fonctionne. Et le modèle Ubuntu, il est intéressant parce qu'il permet vraiment de ramener une perspective africaine sur les questions de leadership qui jusqu'à maintenant nous les avons proposés en utilisant des modèles très occidentaux, mais c'était vraiment aussi pour un peu désoccidentaliser, si on peut dire ça, ce programme, et que pour que les gens vraiment s'approprient ce qui en sort, parce que c'est aussi ancré dans la culture, ancré dans les valeurs locales, dans les connaissances locales ou africaines plus globalement.
Ce sont ces acquis qui vont commencer d'abord par nous-mêmes, parce que le travail que nous avons d'abord fait, c'est d'abord pour nous-mêmes en tant que leaders. Donc déjà, commencer à changer notre façon de faire et à changer notre façon d'être avec les autres.
Le travail pour sauvegarder le bassin du Congo ne peut pas se faire en isolation. Ça demande des efforts collectifs de tous et de tous et une collaboration, voire même qui transcende les pays, les frontières existantes.
Nous sommes aujourd'hui très unis. Nous constituons quasiment un réseau d'entraide dédié à la foresterie communautaire. Nous sommes aujourd'hui, grâce à ce programme, une famille dans le cadre de la conservation et de la foresterie communautaire.
Great. So I think we just have a couple more slides that Kitty and Fred are going to speak to before we open it up for any final questions. I haven't been checking the chat, but I'm assuming that's what we're still doing. Kitty?
Oh,
I have to stop sharing.
we can watch it again. It's nice music, isn't it?
Just give me a second. I have to stop sharing and then restart it again.
Thanks. There was one more slide for Mireille, I think, on learning. If we want to cover that one quickly, and then I'll do the next steps one.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this program, we have also been creating space for learning for the delivery team and within Maliasili and Well Grounded, and we have learned a lot. So the Ubuntu leadership model is still a living framework because we are piloting it the first time. And maybe just to give a credit, this model has been thought, or like initial thinking about this model has been done by a woman, and we have really adapted it on the reality and our understanding of our program and how this Ubuntu model can apply to leadership. And we have also just so we feel like it's really deep and resonates for people. They really feel like, yes, of course, this is what's happening, and because it's connecting them to their history, their culture, their community, so it's really resonates for people. For the first time, we didn't hear how can this be applied in our context, so that was really great. Also, what we have learned is that the hybrid model, like, and the peer-based methodology really provide like the foundation for personal transformation and the community building, because we are like mixing like, what am I hearing? Sorry, I was distracted. So yeah, as we said, like it's hybrid because it's connecting like online, in person, and so many ways. So that is really important. The diversity in the team of the facilitator, because we have like, yeah, 2 people from Well Grounded, 2 people from Maliasili, and with very different background in some ways. So that has been really enriching the program and the learning together, and we feel really very complementary. But I will say the same for the group of the participants, because it's also a mix, like a diversity, like group, like young and less young, and women and men. So it's really a good dynamic, which provide really different points of view and way of looking at the world and being in the world. And we have just intentionally put there like a mutual accountability from facilitator to participant. So for example, when we are collecting like their feedback, what they think about the program, because we are doing that constantly. After 3 online modules, we will ask them, after every module, we ask them to rate and to give some feedback. They will give that. And even after the workshop retreat, we'll do that. But we bring back those like learning to them and say, hey, this is what you have said, and we talk about it. And this is what we have took into account. This is what resonates right now. This is what we are still thinking about it, and we don't know yet what to do about it, or so we keep that accountability. But also we have also learned that we cannot minimize what it's asked to collaborate, especially 2 organizations working in 2 different languages, working in these 4 countries. It asks so many coordination, so many alignments, and yeah, finding like common ground. So that has been kind of what we have learned through this program, and of course we will continue to learn about how we can improve this for the next cohort or for the future. Yeah.
Thanks, Mireille. I'll just speak briefly to what's next, and maybe Fred, if you want to chip in, I'll hand to you. But I think, yeah, this was a first kind of major program for Well Grounded and Maliasili to run together, and we're gonna really over the next few months kind of reflect on how it's gone and build a longer term vision for how we, more broadly than just Canopy, but how are we going to work together in the Congo Basin region. So that's quite exciting. And then when this program is this cohort is closing, we're also looking at how we can offer longer term support to the organizations, the organizational development, our core kind of mission as Well Grounded and Maliasili. We're going to build a strategy for engaging with the cohort longer term and supporting them as they integrate their learning and their leadership development into their organizations. And yeah, I mean, this is really this point is really about the CLTN network kind of falls here. It's like there's lots of programs doing interesting approaches to leadership, and maybe building that, sharing that learning and connecting across programs will be really important. And we will be reflecting on when the next iteration of Canopy will how that will happen, when that will be, and adapt it to what we've learned and the needs. Yeah, Fred, did you want to have a closing word there?
My only closing word is just to take the quote from one of the individuals in the video. He said, from being a boss to being a leader. I think that kind of encapsulates our whole philosophy of leadership development from the beginning of the work that we've done as Maliasili the past 7 years in this space, and probably to a lot of the themes that we've discussed in this network, since the 2019 meeting, the new directions in leadership meeting. So that just resonated with me very strongly.
Yeah, me too. And I'm very sorry, I've not been a great timekeeper, so we've approached the hour, but if anyone can stay on a little bit longer, we can take any questions just for the last few minutes. Is anything else that we didn't cover?
Morning, Hakeem.
Anyone want to stick a hand up for any questions or remarks? But otherwise, we can maybe just share it if there's any key takeaways that you want to that you've got grabbed from this session, and or things that you'd like to know more about in the future. If anyone wants to jump in, go for it. All right, it's the end of the day. But yeah, thank you for the great questions and the I see comments in the chat. So thank you so much. We've really enjoyed connecting today. And we'll share the materials, the slides, the videos. If you have any questions afterwards, please do reach out. Fred, did you?
Before everyone drops in our last 30 seconds, so I think Nigel Asquith from Kinship Conservation Fellowship is going to do the next kind of peer learning sharing in May. And Shelley would love others to sign up now that we've done one. We want to fill June and July slots as well. So put your hand up, reach out to Shelley if you would like to do a similar sharing. There are no rules, so be creative. All right. Well, thanks everyone. And thanks so much, Kitty, Emily, Murray. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.